Hello friends, welcome and namaste. So do you remember how last week we were going into Ardha Chandrasana, and by the end of the week for my regulars, we were going into Chapasana, which is where we have our hand on our ankle or our knee bent, right? And we end up in this position from Ardha Chandrasana. So we're going to continue to play with the opening of the quads and the front body to move into some back bends. So that's where we're headed today. That said, before we head there, let's figure out where we are at the moment. Find yourself in that upright posture, letting your buttocks bones root down, literally, not at 100%, right? But just a little bit of movement down from the very middle of the buttocks bones, and let that rise the pelvis and the spine up out of that motion. Maybe take a few moments and scan through the physical body, noticing what you notice. And I really try to encourage both myself and, everyone who studies with me. It's like, I think we get tripped up and very easily drawn to the pain, right? Or the parts that frustrate us. And I'm not saying don't give them any attention, but don't give them all the attention. Maybe take a moment and scan into a place that's feeling quite open and has, just a lovely light energy to it and feels like it's in a good place. Check into your emotional body, right? Your breathing body, spiritual body, any other bodies, I'm going to call them today, that you would like to take a moment to check into. And remember, this is working with the subtle body. And if that sounds woo, well, there's not a lot of research these days coming out that doesn't show how interconnected all of the bits and pieces and particles of us are. So tune in. What do you notice? And then go ahead and open your eyes. You can bring your arms up by the side. Just let's start warming up the neck by bringing our right ear to our right shoulder, back up to center, and left ear to left shoulder. This time we'll add on. Come on up. When your right ear goes to your right shoulder, lean the whole spine to the right into that lateral stretch. Come back up. Left ear towards left shoulder, and again leaning all the way into the left. Coming back up. This time, when you lean over to the right, go ahead and let your chin move down towards the right shoulder. Slightly different neckline, right? Coming back up. And again, my chin turns down to the left shoulder. We'll do one more. This time we'll hold, so let that chin turn down. This time reach your left arm all the way over and pause. Sink your left buttocks bone down and get really long through that left side body. Now turn your head towards the same way as your chest, and then go ahead and turn and look up. I was going to say towards me, but I have no idea what direction you're facing. And your chin can stay there. You're just going to go all the way over to the other side. You're looking down initially. Sink that right buttocks bone down and lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And then maybe you turn your head towards the chest. Maybe it stops there. Maybe you turn and look up and breathe into that right side body. Inhale, coming all the way up. If you're cross-legged folk, uncross, recross. If you're kneeling, stay where you are. Bring your arms out, soft shoulders, and here we go into some twists. So you're going to turn right, center, left, center. If you already took off and you've already done 3 of them, slow down a little bit, right? Bring the mindfulness part into your practice. Bring the breath part into your practice. Ujjayi breath if you want it, if you know it, if you got it. And then the next time that we go to the right, we're going to pause. So go to the right, Keep your sideways turned down. That's what got you there. Bring your left hand behind you, or up to the outer right leg, sorry, and your right hand behind you. I'm going to use a block because I'm up high. Get nice and tall, and then use those arms to bring you just a little further into the twist. And just notice your tendency, right? Are you kind of wrenching with your arms? Are you rounding your spine, your upper back behind you? Is your head bobbing forward? Like, what happens when you add that extra oomph into your twist? Can you keep the spine long? And just use it to find rotation. Unwind, turning forward. Bring those arms up. Start with your side waist. Now, other things are involved, of course they are, but find your obliques, right? Let them bring you in. Right hand, outer left leg, left hand behind you. Again, I'm going to encourage you to inhale and get taller still, because we probably lost it when we brought the hands down. And then go ahead and let those arms help move you into your twist. And breathe. Noticing the spine, the body. Release the body forward. And then let's go ahead and come off of the setup, if you have a setup already. We're going to come down onto our bellies, actually, right off the bat. Now, if you know you have sensitive hip bones on the ground, you could undo this blanket one more time and you could lay on a blanket. I do not have that issue in my body. Evidently, I've got a little bit of extra material around my hip points that they don't get too ground down into the ground with this work. So just low cobras at first. So bring your hands next to your ribs. Some teachers will say wrists under elbows, something like that. Depends on your joints today. Push down into your feet. Let your thighs get buoyant. Right? Tone the belly and inhale. Come on up. Now for the first one, I'd love for you to lift your hands off of the ground. So we're not pushing down, right? We're lifting with our upper body and we're starting to build that strength up there and shorten those muscles. Keep the belly toned up and notice it might be difficult for you. If it is, just notice that. So when we go into bigger back bends, you know to keep that pulled up or not to go very high, right? Now bring your hands back down. And traction. Remember, anytime I say traction, your hands are stuck on a sticky mat. They don't physically move. They energetically move. Traction your hands back towards your feet. They don't move, but boy, can I find a little more in my upper body probably, right? Take a breath. And then come on down. Turn your head one way. Arms by the side, palms up. Breath. Come back to the breath. Always come back to the breath. I don't know how I would get through this life if I didn't get to deep breathe almost all the time. Go ahead and come on back, or remind myself to. It's something I have to practice for sure. And press in the tops of the feet, thighs lift, tailbone down, belly up, inhale up. And again, I'm not pushing down into my hands, but I am tractioning back, right? Now bring your left forearm down under you, and you can bring it under your shoulder. If that hurts your low back, have the forearm further forward so you're not in so high of a back bend, right? I'm gonna go a little in front of my shoulder. I'm still warming up. And then I'm gonna bend my right knee. And I'm gonna see if I can get my right hand to come back and grab onto that ankle. If you're like, you are kidding me, you could put a strap around that ankle, right? And then that would be your bridge to get a hold of it. Breathing wherever you are. And don't worry too much about for my friends who know bow, we're not going there quite yet. We will, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna just let my right shoulder lift while keeping my chest turned down. So I'm not trying to open my whole body, my spine to the right. I'm not twisting. Left shin pushing down, belly pulling up. Much of what we just worked, adding on this reach. And then go ahead and bring that down. Bring the right forearm down. Get that strap ready, right? Or bend the left knee. Left hand's gonna go back and grab onto that leg. Again, you could have your elbow further forward. You could have your arm stretched out. You get to choose. Do not hurt your low back for this. It is not worth it. And don't kick back into bow right now. Right now, we're just lifting the left shoulder, finding a neck and upper back alignment, keeping our belly pulled up to keep our low back long and protected. And then the other thing I'm gonna add, does your left knee want to go wide? Mine sure does. I have met very few people where it doesn't want to, right? Some of us just know not to let it go wide. So that inner groin rotates up a little bit, knee in line with the buttocks bone. Bring it down, arms by the side, turn your head the other way, soften and breathe. We will do flexion meaning rounding towards the fetal position, but let's do all 3 of these back bends first and then bring that in, right? Instead of going flip-flop from one extreme to the other. Okay. Last piece. Bring those arms forward and come into Sphinx pose, right? Elbows can feel the vertebra. They could be all the way extended. But I will say, right, the more that I find that little bit of traction, even here, and that belly pulling up so my low back stays long, that's where my main protection for my low back is coming into play, right? So you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna let that left hand come over towards the right arm. Should have said that probably the last time, sorry about that. Bend your right knee, reach back and put a strap or grab it. The right knee wanted to go wide. Bring the right knee back into hip distance. Rotate your chest down towards the ground. Lift your right shoulder. Find that shortening of the muscles of the right upper back. This might be where you stay. Maybe you push your shin into your hand, and that's going to bring you into a little bit more of a back bend here, right? We're just going to do one side and then the other. And go ahead and bring that down. We're going to go directly to the other side. Come into Sphinx first though, please. Right? Toe, so I guess it's not directly. I'm going to go ahead and traction your hands back. I just mean we're not coming down for a rest. Keep that belly pulled up. That's so important, y'all. Right hand across the way. Left leg comes in. Grab foot. Right? And again, reestablish before you push that shin back. Chest down. Find the alignment of the neck and the upper back. Find the belly pulling up, the left shoulder rolling up, left upper back engaged, and then push the left shin back to bring you into half bow pose. Ardha Dhanurasana. Come down. Your arms can be by your side if you want to turn the head one direction, or you can do crocodile, bringing your head to your hands. And again, I'll encourage you to check in general with the body. And then particularly with your low back, if your low back is already starting to have some sensitivity, that tells you not to go as far, as fast, right? And to really just slowly work in towards this stuff. Hands next to ribs, tone belly, push back, do a child's pose for a moment, which I think will feel mighty fine in that low back, having done a few back bends. Feel free to keep the hips still, or maybe your hips sway a little bit from side to side. As I often say, you do you, I'll do me, and I'll just try to lay a bunch of options out there for everybody. Plant your palms, straighten your arms, plant your palms down in front of you, right? Take a breath, push your hands forward. Again, it's traction. They don't move there on the sticky mat, but I bet your low back gets a little longer, so take that. Take that, hiya! Go ahead. Sounds very Miss Piggy. And then I have socks on, so I'm going to take a second to get them off, but we're going to go into downward dog. So I want to point out that your upper body is already built for downward dog, right, from this extended child's pose. So come on up to hands and knees, curl those toes under, and push your hippies up and back. Maybe pedal the legs a little bit or sway the hips. Anything you need to do or that you feel like would be beneficial right away here in this first downward dog. Take a breath, come to stillness, and take 2 more. Just feeling the body out in this particular pose. What's tight today, what's not. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to walk our hands back to our feet. We'll end up at the back of the mat. Hands on the shins, reach the chest forward and come on up. Exhale, folding in. Inhale, reach the arms out to come up to standing. And bring those hands down to your heart. Pause. I'm going to shed another layer. I always start out chilly, but then I turn that fire on and move, and boy, do I get warm. So we're going to do Sun Salutation C. If you don't know which one that is, it's not going to be a true C, but I'm going to add lunges in. So for me, that makes me want to put my padding down because we're going to do a quad stretch again. And have your strap nearby the front of the mat if you know you're going to need it to get your ankle, and you might put blocks there just in case you need them, right? You're not a lesser yogi if you use props. Man, I've been trying to teach that for decades now, right? Decades, 14 years. Inhale, reach those arms out and up. So not quite decades, I guess. Exhale, fold. Inhale, lengthen the spine forward. Bend your knees, grab the blocks or hands on ground, you choose. Step your left foot back first. Bring that knee down, right? And then go ahead and inhale the hips forward, a little bit of an upper back bend maybe, right? Or at least a long spine. And then exhale back with the hips, maybe flexing that right foot. So just saying hi to some of these really big muscles that run into or through the hips, right? Let's do that one more time. And where we're going, we want to start to open up that left psoas particularly, right? So when you're forward the next time, I almost never say this, and especially to my flexi bendy people, right? We got to be careful. But for this one, we're going to let our hips hang in. Curl your left toes under, lift the left knee and move it back as far as you can so you can get more on the flesh above the kneecap. That will hopefully make sense momentarily. Now bend the left knee, reach back with the right hand, so this time there is a twist. If you can't get the foot, use the strap and put it around the foot or ankle, right? So be careful about pulling the foot over to the right. Try to keep it in line with your left buttocks bones. Roll your right shoulder open, maybe turn and look up, whatever that is in your body, right? Breathing into that. Oh, good morning, left quadriceps. And go ahead and bring that knee down. And we're gonna step back to downward dog. You can do that any variety of ways. Do a safe journey and let's meet there. Second downward dog. I'm curious what you're feeling. I'm curious if this feels different than the last time we were here. And then we're going to inhale the left leg up and bring it forward. That said, I'm going to bring my knees down and just step it forward. I don't feel the need for the extra oomph today, right? And my blanket is there. And we're going to move in and out. So move your hips forward and just start to open up the front of the right hip and thigh. And then when you move the hips back, you can flex the left foot or not. You'll feel the back of that left leg wake up. Let's do that about 3 times-ish, right? Just noticing what you notice. Does this side feel different than the other? Next time you're forward, let's stay forward. And again, my flexi bendies are gonna cheer because they finally get to do what they always want to do. Let those hips soften in. Curl the toes under, right? Reach that right knee a little further back behind you so you're more on the flesh above the kneecap as much as you can. And then you're gonna bend the right knee and you're gonna reach back with the left hand and try to get a hold of it. Strap it if you need to. You'll notice I'm up on a block. That helps me get a hold of that foot being a little higher with my upper body, right? Now I'm gonna try to pull my right heel towards my right buttocks bones, not my left one. I'm gonna roll the left shoulder open and I'm gonna maybe turn and look up and hopefully above all else, I'll breathe. Take a breath here. Hello, front of right thigh. How are you today? Bring that right foot down. We're actually going to just step back into downward dog. So this is where we part from the sun salutation part. Make your way back there and breathe. And then we're going to come on down and you can leave that blanket there. We're going to work towards the camel, but we're going to do a couple of variations. I'm going to turn my blanket sideways. You don't have to, right? Because you could turn your body sideways, whatever you need to do is what I mean. I just want you to see my profile. I really want my full shins and tops of feet to be on the blanket. If I'm using one, if you're just on the mat, awesome sauce, good for you. Can't do that in my body, or I don't want to. It feels better with the blanket. I'm gonna take a block and I'm gonna put it between my ankles. I'm gonna push into said ankles, right? Said ankles into block. I'm Tuesday morning, just back to teaching. Go ahead and bring those hands onto the eyebrows of the buttocks, right? And you push down. It's not so much that I'm trying to push my hips super far forward. I'm more trying to move them down and have the frontal hip points pick up so that I get this engagement, right? Long, low back on the back side of the body and a little bit of toning in the belly on the front side. And then go ahead and let your elbows move back like they could touch right? The hips don't necessarily have to move forward, but don't let them move back as you reach your shoulders back. So the hips don't move back, but the shoulders reach back. And we're not gonna reach down for heels this first one. We'll go in a second time, I promise, right? Shoulders back, elbows back, chin might lift a little bit, but it's not because my chin lifts, right? It's because my upper back moves towards my chest, my heart opens, and the neck follows suit if I allow it. And then go ahead and release that. Come back to sit on the block. Right. So we trained the ankles to push in on that one. If that's a helpful tool to you, you could continue to do that. We might come down with a hand to the heels. If you're new to this, right? Or if you know you're tighter bodied, you might now take those blocks, and you have to be careful on your blanket, make sure they're stable, right? But you're gonna have them on high potentially. It's always easier to go lower than it is to try to grab a low block and bring it high. So I always suggest high. And we're gonna go towards that same thing. So I want you to imagine that ankle between, that block between your ankles, and I want you to push into that block between your ankles, whether it's there or not. Move the elbows back, move the shoulders back, push the buttocks flesh down. Let the hips stay forward. It's as if you were against a wall. They would never come off the wall the thighs were on. And come back. Now reach down with your right hand and see if you can get your heel or the block, whatever you're working with. Of course, you could curl your toes under, my friends who know that one. And then maybe it's just the one side and you come back up and then do the left side. Maybe both hands reach down. Now, if both hands reach down, I can almost 100% guarantee, unless you really paid attention, that your hips came back with you. So now push into the blocks, get your hips to move forward, like you're still pushing the eyebrows of the buttocks down, push into that block between the ankles, lift the chest, open the throat, inhale, and exhale, come on up, and sit down. Feel free to take that block between your ankles again, and sit on said block. We will go into flexion, but again, I like to do all the back, not always, but often, the upper back bends first, and then we go into flexion instead of going back and forth the whole time. So here we go. You can move the block. For the first one, just come down into child's pose, any variation with your legs. And just pausing for a moment or two, arms in any position. Bring the inhales into, I was going to say the low back, but I don't know, wherever you feel like it would be beneficial to bring the breath to and to find that expansion, and that inhales are usually very conducive to expansion, creating space, right? Exhale is very conducive to letting go and relaxing. Hands under shoulders, push the ground away, come on up. Okay, so we're going to come onto our backs and do just a couple things before we go into our Shavasana. So if you need to put warmer layers back on, you don't need props for this today. You're going to go ahead and you're going to start to lower down using some of those abdominals. Tee your arms out, walk your feet about as wide as your mat. And then go ahead and let your knees go right, center, left, center. And you know, everybody works in their own way, but since we're doing it a few times, I usually let my head stay pretty still 1 or 2 times and let the low body figure out its rhythm and its pattern and just notice it. More than anything, it's just noticing what's happening. And then, yeah, I might play with the head turning. It's often taught the opposite way, and I love that, right? The whole spine in a twist. But sometimes I like to turn it the same way, and I feel like it kind of helps my neck and my shoulder find a little something, something that feels really good. So again, play with it and explore and do the one that feels the most beneficial at this moment in time. And come back to center when you're ready. Walk your feet in. Let's go ahead and hug our right knee in towards our chest. Breathing there. Put the right foot down, bring the left knee into the chest. Hold it there, breathe. Keep the left knee in, bring the right leg in, and hug them in. Hug closer to the knee so that your pelvis gets, the tailbone gets really light, and you round the low back down into the ground, so go into flexion. My friends who are regularly with me, you know, sometimes I don't teach that. right? Depends on the day and what we were doing. And then put your hands on your kneecaps, circle the knees just to massage out the low back and the top of the pelvis. Go ahead and go the other way. And then put those feet down on the ground. You can walk the feet wide and lean the knees in. You can put a bolster or a blanket under your knees. You can extend your legs all the way out to straight. I like to say it a lot because I think it bears worth repeating. I'm 24 years into this practice and it's still helpful for me to hear or think, right? One thing is not better than the other. One thing is more beneficial at this moment in time. I think we really get stuck into thinking there's one good way to do these poses. They should look like X. And I just don't believe that to be true this many years into this practice. What helps you to soften every muscle you can manage? What helps you stay focused in the present? Is it paying attention to the breath or counting the breath? Is it scanning the body? Most all y'all know that's my favorite. We'll say it's my most beneficial tool usually for concentration. Is it sounds around you? And if you don't know, start to play with them. And it's not that one is going to be right 100% of the time. It's just that one is going to feel beneficial in this moment, or maybe you just try one the whole time and find out, that doesn't really work all that well for me. But now you know, you tried it. I just had that thought. Here in America, we have that, give it to Mikey, he likes everything. I think that was his name. It was a TV commercial back in the day. So I don't know, maybe we need to find a little bit more of our inner Mikey and just try things on and see what fits, what we like. So you can stay here. You're in your own space by all means, right? If you do have a time commitment, I want to honor that and come up with you. I don't love videos where I'm left laying on my back and the teacher just signs out for whatever reason, so I don't do that often. Take your time. You can make your way up to an upright posture. Once you get to that upright posture, let's just take maybe another minute, right? As we reach the buttocks, bones down, and find the long spine, the root to rise. As we soften the parts of the body we don't need to engage, all the things. And here we are, pretty similar to where we started class. So just check in one more time. A, notice what you notice right now at this moment in time. And B, if you do remember, use it as a point of contrast, not judgment, right? This was good, this was bad, or anything like that, but just, I know in my own body, for example, I have a bit of a crimp in my upper right back, a little piece of discomfort, right? I didn't have that when I started. I'm not going to judge it good or bad right now. I'm just going to notice it and know that I'm going to try and give it some loving at some point in time today. Bring those hands together in front of your chest, inhale. And as you bow your head in, just taking a moment of gratitude for this time and space that we created. Namaste. May you be well. May all beings everywhere be well. No exceptions.